Hello and welcome to today's PSDA's Social Selling Bootcamp. Today is part one of a four-part series and the topic is Build an Outstanding LinkedIn Profile. Please note that all attendees are in listen-only mode. If you have a question during the presentation, please enter it in the chat feature of your GoToWebinar toolbar. Additionally, you will be asked to participate in a few polls today as part of the presentation. You can find the polling tool in the GoToWebinar toolbar. If you have any questions about the polling tool or anything else, please submit your question via the chat feature. And now I'd like to introduce Brian Prout, PSDA's Executive Vice President, to open today's session.
Welcome everyone to today's webinar. As Kirsten said, my name is Brian Prout. I'm the Executive VP of PSDA. I was hired earlier this year and been working closely with the board, Matt Sanderson, and the entire staff on continuing to move the association forward. I'm excited to report that we've had over 250 people register for this month-long boot camp on LinkedIn. Throughout the series of 4 webinars, you'll receive an email each day with practices to help you better leverage LinkedIn in your business. The focus of this webinar series is on growing your business, an area of critical focus for PSDA as we strive to provide ongoing value to our members. We're fortunate to be able to provide this series through the financial support of the Print Education Research Foundation, PERF, whose mission is to provide research and education for this segment of the industry. PERF has funded this entire month-long course, and we thank them for their support. PERF also funded Beyond Print, the digital companion to Print Solutions magazine, which was launched at the Distributor Solutions Expo in April. If you have not downloaded it, please do so. I encourage you to do that to your tablet device. I'd like to make sure that everyone knows how valuable PSDA can be as a resource to connect distributors with supplier partners. Last year, we made approximately 7,000 connections. On the PSDA homepage is a live feed of requests that are coming in several times per day. If you haven't subscribed to that service, I encourage you to do so by emailing psda@psda.org. Finally, there are about 24 non-members attending this meeting. We've offered today's webinar as a trial so they can experience the value that PSDA membership offers. We welcome them. I'm now pleased to introduce Kurt Shaver, the founder of the Sales Foundation, a sales training company specializing in LinkedIn. Kurt combines modern social selling techniques with real-world experience gained over 20 years in IT sales and executive management. He has written for publications like Sales Gravy, Top Sales World, and Social Media Today. In 2013, he was named a Top 25 Sales Influencer by Inside View. Please welcome Kurt.
Hey, thanks, Brian. Class is in session. Welcome, everybody. And let's get started. So today we're going to be talking about building a professional LinkedIn profile. And I'm really looking forward to this 30-day program to help you get more sales through LinkedIn. There's some of my contact information if you need it. And again, you'll be seeing emails throughout the course of this program with plenty of chances if you need some additional assistance. So I always like to start off by just defining, why are we doing this? Why are you investing your time in this, right? And the reason is that it's harder than ever to reach decision makers nowadays. I just celebrated my 30th year in sales, 30th year of having a variable income made on commission, and man, nobody picks up their phone or answers emails anymore. This is what the executive said. It was at a panel conference that I was attending, and somebody was asking them how they can reach him. And as you see here, he says, forget about cold calls or email. You've got to get introduced by somebody I know or post something that catches my eye. That's the only way you're going to reach him as a new prospect. So if we break down those two opportunities that he's giving to reach him, you know, the very first one is something that salespeople are pretty used to. Getting referrals is the best way to start a new sales cycle. But the second one that he mentioned is really kind of a new skill that's only come on since the social media era, and that's the skill of content to attract buyers. So LinkedIn is great for both of those, and that's what we're going to be addressing. So that's the big picture of it. And you saw some of the stats if you got on early, a few minutes early to the webinar. Here's just one more, again, just to reinforce the value of these new techniques that you're going to be learning. So let's talk about the program elements. So today we'll talk about profiles. Next week we're going to be talking about growing your connections and participating in groups. The third week is all about prospecting, finding, and connecting with new potential customers. And finally, the last piece is that new skill. That's the engagement, both sharing content and engaging in dialogue with your network. So those are the 4 components. Now, before we get started, let's get a little bit of a sense of the skill level that we have on the line. So what I'm going to do is ask Kirsten to bring up our first poll and just ask you to indicate how you would rate your LinkedIn skills. You know, a beginner might be, hey, you've had LinkedIn less than a year, maybe you've got less than 100 connections, maybe you only look at it a few times a month. Intermediate, probably you've had LinkedIn for more than a year, you might have more than a couple hundred connections, you're probably in there at least once a week. Advanced person would be, hey, you've had LinkedIn for a long time, you might have 500, 600, 700 connections, and you're probably in it once a day. So if you just go ahead and click one of those, and then Kirsten, I'll kind of just look to you when it looks like the voting is sort of starting to slow down, and we can close it and share the results.
All right, looks like voting slowed down.
Okay. You want to, yeah, can you share the results with us, and we'll kind of see what the mix looks like? Okay, so we can see they're pretty even split. Just about half the crowd beginner, half are intermediate, and a few are advanced. So we will sort of pace the training to that effect, making sure, trying not to leave anybody behind, but making sure we still have some nuggets there for those advanced people. Okay, let's keep going. So go ahead and close the poll. Thanks. So here is the format. Everybody, obviously, you are here. You know that. And again, we'll have the webinars once a week for the next 3 weeks, and you'll be getting the emails each day in between. Here is an example of what one of the emails is going to look like. Oh, I also want to mention, stick around. We're going to talk about at the end of this webinar how you can win a prize at the end of the boot camp. Now here is what one of those emails look like. In fact, I sent the email out earlier this morning. Some of you may have seen it. Some of you may not have gotten to all your emails yet. But the start of the daily emails, you'll need to register for it using that link in the email that came in today. And once you do, the very first one is going to look like this. So some of you on the line may have already received that email. And again, the point of this, some of it's going to reinforce lessons that we have, and some of it will be new. But again, just like working out at the gym, it's meant to sort of quickly exercise those LinkedIn muscles. So daily tip is one of the big parts of it. Also, we talked about the worksheets. Each one of these webinars does have a 1 or 2 page worksheet associated with it. And those will be coming out to you in the emails before the webinar starts. Again, they're helpful but not absolutely necessary. If you've got a notepad there, you can just jot down some of the sections when we ask you to think and write some things down. But the notepad, or the worksheet rather, will certainly help make it a little easier for you. So if you didn't have a chance to do it this week, then you can catch it next week. So we're just kind of going through all the components now before we jump into today's session, since this is the very first webinar. This is an example of what the worksheet will look like. And so, for example, this is the one for today. We're going to be talking about your LinkedIn profile. And so as we walk through it, you'll have the opportunity to check things off as you progress, and then write in maybe the types of things that you're going to actually enter into your own LinkedIn account. There will, well, actually, I've got the next slide for that, the webinar format. So this is what it's going to look like when we're doing these webinars. You're going to see a PowerPoint slide, usually with some kind of a conceptual graphic in there to explain the concept of why we're doing something. Then I'm actually, in a lot of instances, going to jump over into my own LinkedIn account, and I'll show you how to actually do it in LinkedIn. And then I will stop and really give you guys a few minutes to jump into your own LinkedIn account and do it. In some instances, we'll have time to actually do little edits. In other instances, there won't quite be enough time, and you'll just kind of take the notes to go back and do it. But one of the things people like about these webinars is that they do actually end the hour having made progress, sometimes even connecting with a new prospect. So that hands-on nature is a big part of it. And as Kirsten already mentioned, if you've got questions along the way, type them into that questions section in the GoToWebinar control panel. And Kristen will be watching those, and we'll see if we have any time at the end where we're going to address them or along the way. And also when you're doing the work and I can catch my breath, I'll take a look at them there as well. Okay, so I think that's all of the preliminaries. There's a lot of stuff to get through at the very first webinar, but now we are ready to dive into the real content for today, which is to build a professional-looking LinkedIn profile. All right, here's where we're going to start. Don't think of the LinkedIn as your resume. When LinkedIn came out now 11 years ago, a lot of people really thought about it as an online resume, and in fact that's still actually a huge part of how people use LinkedIn. But for the context of this session and the training that I do for people, we're really thinking of it as a selling vehicle, something that's going to help us get prospects, not help us get a new job. So I don't want you to think of it as a resume anymore. I want you to think of it as your own personal online billboard. Okay, there we've got a picture there of PSDA member Roger Buck. I spoke to Roger last week and got a lot of good insights about the PSDA and the print supplier and distribution world. And so I elected him to be my billboard example here. And one of the things that I want to point out is that there are these 5 key elements that are pretty important. They're the primary things that show up in your LinkedIn profile. Obviously, number 1 is your photo. You've got your name, your headline, location, and industry. Those 5 elements show up in LinkedIn in many different ways, right? Obviously, they show up at the top of your profile. They show up in search results. They show up when people are looking at the members of the group. They show up in that thing called people you may know. So this is kind of the primary name, rank, and serial number information that follows you all around LinkedIn. And that's why the primary thing we want to do is get that right and optimize it as well as we can. So let's dive in. How are we going to do that? It's pretty simple. I'm going to give you guys 2 photo guidelines to look at. So the very first one, pretty simple, and LinkedIn even says this in their own advice, that is fill the frame with face. In other words, you want that to be a headshot. In many displays on LinkedIn, that picture is very small, and so again, you want it to be as big as possible and recognizable. And number 2 is, try to have a blank or a fairly neutral background. So blank background is best. So it's F and B, and that'll get you there. So everybody's an expert now. You're all graduated from the photo guideline school. Pretty simple. So you're ready for the pop quiz of the morning. So here's what I want you to do. Get ready to reply over in the questions area, because we're going to turn the questions area right now into the answers area. So I want you down where it says type and answer here. I'm going to put up 6 sample photos here. And if you think it is a good LinkedIn photo based on the criteria I just gave you, I want you to type in yes. If you think it's a bad one, I want you to type in no. Okay, ready? Here's your first one. So go over to your answers section and just type in a yes or no. Now, that's PSDA EVP Brian Pratt, who was just speaking to you, and I used him as a good example. So it looks like we're getting lots of yeses on that. And again, he's following the guidelines, right? Recognizable, headshot, neutral background. Great job, Brian. Okay, here's the next one. So just type in your answer, yes or no. So we're seeing mostly no's there. some of the reasons would be, first off, it's not recognizable. You can't see it. It's way too small. And, more of the emphasis is on the distracting background. Okay, here's the next one. Many of you might know that person. That's Barbara O'Connor. Again, we're seeing a pretty standard professional-looking headline there. All right, next one. Sometimes people say, what is that? Well, you're looking at the back of a camel, right? So again, remember, LinkedIn is your professional persona, right? This is not your Facebook page. It's not the place where you want to put, pictures of your vacation to Egypt or something like that. So, right, you don't want to be staring at the back end of a camel for your LinkedIn photo. You want that to be your professional persona. Okay, next one. All right, probably a lot of you know PSDA member Sarah Scudder, who's organizing the Young Innovators Conference tomorrow in Denver. Again, that's a good one, recognizable, full face. Okay, last one. I don't know why this baby has the rest of his family in his LinkedIn picture, but my advice to Junior is to drop mom, dad, sis, and Junior and just have a nice shot of your chubby little cheeks, right? So, because again, you want one person, no cats, dogs, babies, fish, headshot, recognizable. Okay. Let's keep going. How do you do that? Well, here's how you do it. And I'm going to show you real quickly, and we'll give you a couple minutes if you want to do it. But basically, I'm going to come over into my LinkedIn account. I'm going to come up to the profile area where I get this drop-down menu that pops up, and I'm going to say Edit Profile. Now, it's going to show me all my same profile information, but everything now has little blue pencils, or in the case of the photograph, it's got this camera. If I click on the camera, so you can see what's going on in this case. I actually had a bigger picture there, but LinkedIn gives you this little yellow box that's going to allow you to crop in. And in many cases, you might have an okay picture of your face, but there's other people around you, or somebody standing next to you, so you can just come in here and crop in real tight. And that'll give you then that single headshot of yourself, even if there's somebody standing next to you, okay? So that's where you're just editing a picture that's in there. Obviously, if you don't have one, then you're actually going to want to upload it. So this case, you would delete the photo and upload a new one. And then over here, they're showing you how it's going to appear in some of the different displays within LinkedIn. So again, you can see how tiny this one is right here, which is one of the reasons you want that to be a headshot. You can sort of see who I am in that one, right? So I'm going to give you guys just 2 minutes now. If you want to, obviously you have your browser open to the webinar, but go over into a second browser tab and go into your own LinkedIn profile. Take a look at your picture, right? If it's fantastic, that's great. You can just maybe look around at some other elements of your profile that maybe you've been meaning to update and just haven't got around to. If you've got a picture that is okay face shot, but there's too much other stuff, then use that cropping tool to tighten it up a little bit. And if you don't have a great picture loaded right now, but you have access to one, you can go ahead and grab that off your computer. And finally, if you just do not have a good digital photo, then you're going to have to write that down on your list, either on your worksheet or just on a blank piece of paper. So I'm going to give you guys, we've been talking about it for 1 minute. I'm going to give you another minute to do that. And while that's happening, we will play a little bit of editing music. I'm going to bring you back now to the webinar. Again, that's kind of the basic first step. So I imagine a lot of people were already there. So we're going to keep moving on and get into a little bit more sophisticated things. Okay, the next one, the headline. You remember that when we saw that on Roger's profile? This is the single biggest bang for the buck, low-hanging fruit, little effort, big payoff thing that you can do, right? It's not just a headline. Majority of people just put their headline in there, right? VP of Marketing, account executive, whatever it happens to be. First piece of advice, gang, you got 120 characters there, so use it. Hey, you guys are in the marketing business, so you know this is your opportunity to grab the customer's attention, but you got to be talking to them about what's in it for them. So use a customer-oriented benefit statement. Here's one example of a client I worked with that is an IT sales professional. She's information technology into the healthcare arena. So before we started working with them, her headline said healthcare strategist. That's her title. What she extended it to was to actually have her company name in there and then her value to her clients, which is she connects people, process, and technology to improve patient care, right? So that's going to differentiate her. Now here's a couple other examples just to get you guys thinking before you get to work. So here's one. This woman is an insurance agent, and again, you can see the value she's bringing to people. One of the things that I like about her headline is she is identifying her target market. Again, you guys are marketers, so you know when you're writing marketing copy, you want the reader to self-identify themselves, so yours is the one that stops them in their tracks. And if you're a developer, property owner, or contractor, right, you're at least going to stop on that glance. Here's a guy that does recruiting and staffing for companies. He's calling out the companies he works for, the clients he works for and what he does. He's super dry and boring. Here's kind of a sassy one from Emily Hill, again showing you where she's got a little character in there, and she's really taking advantage of those 120 characters. So those are some examples of some great LinkedIn headlines. Now it is your turn to go to work. Now, I can tell you, usually it takes about 10 minutes for most people to really come up with a great headline, and we don't have that much time here. I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes. So the easiest way to start is just jot down, some of the key words or key phrases, a customer-oriented benefit statement, right? It's kind of your elevator statement. That'll be the modules or the elements that you'll want to incorporate into it. And the easiest way to really maximize the 120 characters is to play around with that in a Microsoft where you have the character count feature. Spaces do count. And so right now I would say focus in the next 2 minutes on just the brain work of kind of sketching something out. If you're way ahead of that and you've got something, and again, you just want to edit it, this is the section we're talking about right here. Okay, the headline. So you can see mine says social selling speaker and trainer for organizations helping B2B sales connect with more decision makers using LinkedIn. Right, that is my deliverable. That's why people hire me. So if I wanted to change it, I just come to this little blue pencil in the edit mode, and here you can see that it just keeps going and going. That's why it's a little deceptive, and people don't often realize that it actually has 120 characters. So again, the exercise now is at least to get the ideas on paper, and if you're really a little bit more advanced and you got a pretty good idea and you just want to jump in and make that edit in your LinkedIn account, then go ahead and do that now. I'll give you guys another 2 minutes. Okay, I'm going to give you guys about another 20 seconds, then I'll bring you back again. Just realistic expectation. You know, this is you're writing marketing copy right now, so it doesn't necessarily mean it's instantly going to come off your top of your head. Usually takes a little bit of fudging and editing and whittling and trying to get that exact word to fit into the 120 characters. Hopefully everybody's making some progress. Hey, good question came in, and this again, that's why I want to encourage, or actually a comment, a valid observation. So any questions or observations, feel free to type those in. So somebody said, hey, aren't all the changes that I make on my LinkedIn profile communicated to my network? Do I want to turn off those alerts? So that's a great question. The answer to that, the answer to the first part is yes. When you typically, if you have not disabled it, the default is that changes you make to your profile are communicated to your LinkedIn network. Now, part number two, do we want to turn them off? That depends on whether you want your changes communicated to your LinkedIn network. Right, because in some cases it's actually good. That's a great visibility thing that like, hey, I'm alive, hey, I'm out here, hey, like if you just updated your headline from account executive to I create the world's most awesome promotional materials to help my clients dominate the world, you probably want to let your network know about that, right? Other things, if you get into like real little kind of like detail things, maybe you don't want to just deluge them. So in that case, I'm going to show you guys real quickly, so make sure you're back on the webinar now, not working in your account. The way you would do that is you have to come up to your very top of LinkedIn, the tiny, tiny, tiny little thumbnail upper right-hand corner. You've got privacy and settings area, and that actually makes you log in to LinkedIn again. So I got to come back. And when you come in and you log in, you get into the settings area of LinkedIn. So if you decided that you want to turn off your activity broadcasts, you come down here to where it says privacy controls, and you click right there. And so you can see right now I have mine turned off. If you want to broadcast it, let people know when you change your profile, make recommendations, or follow companies. And actually, I think I had this turned off just for an example. I'm going to turn it back on because that raises my visibility. But again, you can make the choice either way. It really depends. If you're going to be making a ton of changes, maybe a good thing to turn it off for the next 2 or 3 days and then turn it back on. It all depends on your level of visibility that you want to send out to people. So thanks for that question. Let's come back and let's move on. The next one we're going to talk about on LinkedIn is the summary section, probably better displayed in the real profile itself. So I'm just going to jump over here to my profile. So what we're talking about in the profile section right now then is the summary section shown right here. Now, the summary, you have 2,000 characters. So this is really the best section for you to tell a little bit of your story. The recommendation there, a couple of recommendations. First, I prefer, and I think most experts prefer, that you write that in first person, right? I am a, rather than James did this or Brian did that. To me, it seems a little bit more approachable, a little more genuine, a little bit more authentic, right, than looking like you hired a copywriter or something to write it for you. So I prefer first person. And again, you want to write that not touting about how many times you've been to President's Club, but you want to talk about the issues your customers face, the industries you serve. This is your ad copy that you can write in there. So again, if you've got your worksheet there, or you have the just a blank piece of paper, all we're really going to have time for here is for you to just jot down some of the ideas. Again, this is probably an exercise that's going to take you, 10, 15 minutes to really nail it. But use this time that you have carved out today to jot down some of the key ideas from the perspective of your customer. What do you want to tell them about yourself? What do they get from dealing with you? What are you helping them solve? What kinds of customers are you working with, right? Do you focus on mid-size, enterprise, small business, healthcare, construction, nonprofit? Are you focused on direct mail or promotional products? So tell your story. This is where you tell your story on LinkedIn. Jot down, again, if you're super advanced and you've got a really good handle on this and you just want to take this time to actually jump into your LinkedIn account and brush up your summary, then that's fine. Just go over into your edit profile, right? And again, come down to this section, hit your little edit blue pencil button, and you can start changing the copy. Again, this is one of those things, this one's a little longer, so a lot of times easier to play around with it within Microsoft Word and then copy and paste. So just looking at the comments, somebody said that they're a premium user, meaning they're on one of the paid versions of LinkedIn, and they're not finding that area. That's even, that's even more odd because a premium user has more features. So again, I'll just show you where I was getting to that. When you log into LinkedIn, everybody comes into their home page here. Let me bump that up a little bit. Everybody comes into their home page, and so I've been operating today in the profile section just by hitting edit profile. When I do that, all the little blue pencils pop up here, so I can edit various elements and things like that. So if that's not working, maybe we can give some help offline. So I'm going to bring you guys back so we can kind of keep marching on. Basically, we just did that. And so now we're going to be talking about media. Now, you guys are in the promotional business, so if anybody is spiffing up their boring text resume looking old LinkedIn profile with media, it ought to be you. So a little over a year ago, LinkedIn really added the abilities to spice things up and make this much more like your personal website than just a bank resume. So you can put product data sheets, images, view products, video clips, all sorts of things. Again, just to give you an example, if I come back to my profile, I come out of the edit mode and I just scroll down a little bit to some of the areas. You can see these are images, video clips, PDFs, different things that I have in there that people can download. And so, if we came in here to a particular video clip and people click on that, right, then you can see here it's actually just kicking off a video player. Okay, so we don't need to look at all that, but you kind of get the idea. So, so this is just a chance for you to really enhance your LinkedIn profile, and the way that you do it. I think just about everybody's got this capability yet. Now, LinkedIn took a long time to roll it out, but again, if you come back to edit profile, there are only certain sections that allow you to add media. One of them is the summary section, and you add media by the little square box with the plus right there. That's how you're going to add a video, image, document. So you can see if I click it, I can either upload a file right off of my computer, so this would be like the PSDA logo, for example. So I can upload a file off my computer, or I can add a link. So if I had like a YouTube video or something like that, I could actually put that link in there, and you saw how the little video clip player pops up. So at this point, again, we're going to play this just like we did on some of the previous ones. We're only going to take a couple of minutes now for you to think about what media could you add to your profile? Now again, for the really advanced people, if you know what the media is and it's on the company website or it's on your computer drive and you want to just jump right in and like, oh great, yeah, I either didn't know I could do that or I've been meaning to do that, and this is your opportunity to just go into your own LinkedIn account and add some media to add some sizzle to your LinkedIn profile. But again, that's for the advanced people that are basically ready to do it. They know what they want, and they've got that media, access to that media. If not, then let's just spend the next 90 seconds thinking about what could you put in there. Do you have a testimonial, a case study? Is there a little ROI calculator that you have, right? Do you want to put a sheet that's got logos of your clients or the different types of things that you can supply? It's all about just adding some different types of media to pretty up your profile. And you know, I'd like to get some examples to share back to everybody else. So if you could type into the questions section, just tell us what types of things do you already have, what types of media do you already have, or are you thinking about adding into your profile? And Kirsten, if you see any of those come up and people say, you know, case study, data sheet, picture of me winning an award, anything like that, if you see, you know, a good one that you think the rest of the people could value from, then just let us know.
Will do. All right, so some things we have are product photos and videos, awards, PSDA articles and pictures.
Hey, there you go. Who was that, Barbara O'Connor?
Someone's cheating.
Okay.
Testimonials.
Yeah, testimonials are great. Okay. Well, hopefully everybody had some chance to at least get some media down if you didn't actually get it entered into your profile. I mean, that's the way kind of all these webinars are going to go. I always say to people, look, if everything goes smoothly and you're really fast, you can actually do some renovation as we're flying through this 1-hour webinar. But in most instances, it's just going to give you the idea. You're going to take the note on the piece of paper, circle back to it, and that's partly what those daily tips are going to do because, again, some of those are going to reinforce the things you didn't quite have time for here. So let's keep moving because we still have a number of things to cover in dressing up a profile. All right, the next thing I'm going to talk about I call the zip tip. Now, this applies to you if the majority of your customers are in a metro area different than where your bed is. Okay, so here's the situation. So I live about 50 miles north of San Francisco, California, in Sonoma County. And Sarah Scudder will tell you there are lots of grapes up in Sonoma County, but there are not very many tall buildings. There's not very many businesses. It's very rural. All of the big businesses in Northern California are between San Francisco and San Jose down in Silicon Valley. That's about 70 miles from my house. Because people often do searches for people on LinkedIn based on a radius, this really puts me at a disadvantage if they pick a 50-mile radius, say, of Palo Alto, right? I'm not going to get invited to bid for Hewlett-Packard or something. So here's how you can kind of get around that, and that is when you're building your profile on LinkedIn and it asks you for your location, what is the zip code of your bed? LinkedIn is your professional persona. So I recommend that people put in the zip code, which represents the epicenter of their core customers, if this, in fact, applies to you. Now, you can only do it for a metro area. So if you cover New England, you can't put it, you can't put it in one state that, or you can't pick Boston and have it do a 700-mile radius. This really only applies to a metro area. But if you're in that situation where you're, a little bit removed from the core, then this is a good technique to increase the chances that you get found. So if that's the case, just know you can go in and edit your zip code to where your prospects are. Okay. Next thing, again, you guys are in the promotional products business. Part of what you're doing is keeping your clients top of mind for things that might be, on their desk or giveaways at a trade show or anything like that. So you know that having URLs, phone numbers, addresses in front of prospects is important, right? So you want it on your LinkedIn profile. Call you. You have to put your email and phone number on your LinkedIn profile. So simple enough. Again, you're just going to do it by going into your edit command. So if you don't, I'll tell you what, I am shocked how many salespeople do not have points of contact in their LinkedIn profile. So again, I'm in my edit mode. I'm going to come over here. It's a little bit hidden right there into my contact, and any of those that I want to enter, email, address, Twitter, or also websites. You can see you can load 3 different websites here, and you can call them whatever you want, because when you edit that, if you pick the one called Other, right, it'll pop up another box, and you can label that URL anything you want, right? Because usually it's just going to say company website, but again, you're in marketing. You want these to be catchy. Free LinkedIn videos, website, the blog. So you can put whatever you want there to make it attractive to people to click, people to contact you through. Got a Twitter account, that can go in there. Certainly your own website could go in there. Okay, that's a pretty easy one, so I'm going to jump on back into the webinar, and let's go on to talk a little bit about experience. Now, the experience piece of this is the most resume-like piece of your LinkedIn profile. These are past jobs that you had. So my recommendation there is, as you can see there, I say short and sweet. I usually recommend you have like no more than 3 sentences, just as sort of like what you did and an accomplishment. In this case, as I actually have some recommendations showing up when I was in those roles. You don't need to have those, but here you can basically see 3 jobs that I had, and in 10 seconds you can see what did I do and what did I accomplish, right? So that's really all you need for those. I'll also tell you that being a software guy back in the 90s, guess what? I had a lot of jobs, and I just sort of like roll them into one mush when I was working at a different startup for every 2 years. So you can kind of handle it that way to compress things if you're in that same situation. Okay. So again, the update experience piece of it, and if you got your worksheet there, again, just go back a little bit, short and sweet, put in the highlights. Now, this is an area that I like to point out. There is a section on LinkedIn called Interests, and the Interests section really allows you the opportunity to kind of become a little bit more human, right? Maybe not all business. Now, LinkedIn is an all business network. But you can put a little bit things in there that describe you a little bit better and really give people a basis for developing a little bit more rapport. So there you can see it's a combination of my business and my personal interests. So on the business side, right, it's going to be focusing all of those things. Now, on the personal side, I like to go riding my bike around wine country, and I do not have that photo there on LinkedIn. I'm just using that to say that I do have cycling and exploring wine country listed there in my LinkedIn profile. So again, just where we've seen everything else, that's usually pretty far down in your profile where you're going to be. So here is where it happens in the edit section. So again, you can come in and put in whatever you want in there. So this would be a good chance. Let me give you guys a minute to pop back over into your LinkedIn profile. If there's an interest that is in there that you think would give people a basis for understanding you a little better and maybe establishing some commonalities for rapport building, then go ahead and pop one of those in there, or 3. Okay, so while you guys are doing that, I'm just going to look at one of the other questions that came in. So somebody was asking about the summary section. Is that used in search results? Yes, absolutely. So when you are writing things like, when you're writing anything in your profile, again, this is basically your personal website. So just like on the company website, you've got your webmaster, working on SEO, search engine optimization, which has to do with like stuffing key there. In other words, you want to get all those keywords. What might somebody be looking for if they were looking for somebody like you, right? What's the print, promotional products, collateral, marketing, lead generation, direct marketing, right? What are those different things that people might be talking about? You want to get those keywords inserted into your summary. Okay, let's come back and move on. So I'm going to wrap up this section in terms of entering things into your profile with kind of the long list of what are all the other things you can put. LinkedIn has really added a lot of sections, and so if there are if you have content for these very specific sections, then it's certainly a great way to flush out your profile. So here's what they are. If you've ever been published on something, you can put publications in there. If those publications are online, you can put the link to it, and people can actually click and link to your work. Any certifications that you've done, right? Trades, things like that. They have got their own sections. Courses, social selling boot camp, and otherwise, you can list those. Honors and awards, languages you speak, organizations you're in. PSDA would be perfect. That shows that you are investing in your professional development and you belong to the industry trade association. So list that in the association sections. Projects, if you're a patent holder, congratulations, you can list that in there. Test scores, and finally, volunteer experience and causes. All of these things, I've got a few of them, and some I do not have. But if we just scroll around here a little bit, sort of give you some examples. So there's honors and awards. There are volunteer experiences and associations that I'm in. There are publications. There's projects. There's publications. So again, in this case, these happen to be hyperlinks. So if I wanted to look at this article in Sales and Marketing Management Magazine, if I was a viewer of my profile and I click on that, boom, now I'm at that magazine's, article which I published for that magazine, right? So those are some of the various ways. And I'm going to kind of take a look at, and that's, if you've got the worksheet there in front of you, I'm labeling that the icing on the cake. So again, I think kind of looking at time, I'm looking, we've got about 6 or 7 minutes left to go. I would say if any of those really jump out at you, jot down that note quick while it's fresh in your mind that you want to capture it, but we won't actually take time right now to edit it into your LinkedIn profile. Again, just know those are all placeholders. Everything in there is going to both enhance the readability of your profile for human eyes and also increase the search engine value that you get found for those various words. All right, so we are going to switch gears now, still on the profile, but a little bit different. We're going to talk about, this is just the idea if you're looking for different ideas, and say you can always go look at colleagues and competitors' LinkedIn profiles, obviously. But now I want to switch over and talk about recommendations. This is what we're going to end with on this webinar. We're going to talk about recommendations and endorsements. Those are two different things on LinkedIn. We'll explain each one and the pros and cons of each. So the first thing we're going to talk about are recommendations. So a recommendation is a written testimonial from one of your connections. That means that they have actually gone finger to keyboard, engaged their brain, and thought about something and typed it in, right? So it might say something like this. This is one that I actually pulled from one of the people that is on the webinar. You'll probably recognize this if it's you. Anyway, I just thought this was a great recommendation that they received from one of their customers who was a senior director at a company, saying that there wasn't a project that they couldn't throw at blank and his printers that they couldn't handle. I always had unique requirements, tight deadlines, and low budget. Does that sound like I was their only client? So that is a great thing to say. And again, good credibility by seeing, if you go look at their actual profile, it has the person's name and their company. So that is a high credibility builder. I'm a big fan of testimonials. I love them. Highly recommend recommendations. How's that for redundant? So here's how you get it, a recommendation. You can actually go into the settings area, or you can just go down to the edit profile area. Either one of those has the feature to say you want to ask for a recommendation. The first thing you need to do is, if you've had many jobs, you need to say, well, which one of your jobs do you want to be recommended for? That's level 1. You pick the right job, then the next thing it says is, okay, well, who do you want to ask for a recommendation? You can ask one person, or you can ask up to 200 people. That would be a fantastic recommendation request. And then finally, LinkedIn even inserts all the boilerplate text for you to where you can just click the send button, but I always recommend that you write something a little custom in there. You might want to jog their memory about what it was. So in this case, I'm saying, hey, it'd be great if you could mention the Jell-O pudding project. So whatever it happens to be, that's how you can actually get the recommendation. Again, let me just show you how you can get to it. If you're in the edit mode of your profile and you come down, you got to scroll right down. Typically the recommendation section is pretty far down at the bottom, but you can see I got a little pencil right here, and if I scroll, here's a bunch of my recommendations, right? But you can see over here it says ask to be recommended, and this is where I would just go through that process that I just showed you in the PowerPoint slide. I would say I was founder at the Sales Foundry, right? I want to come up and ask one of my connections, Brian Prott, and then I would come in here, right, and I would say, hey, don't forget to mention the PSDA webinar, and then I would send it off. So this is our chance to request a recommendation. Again, this is probably, I'm looking at our time, might not have time to do it. Let's at least accomplish this. okay? Jot down, either in your worksheet, there's a section, the very last line, or on your blank piece of paper if you didn't print out the worksheet. At least jot down here in our final couple of minutes 2 or 3 customers that you're going to ask a recommendation of. Somebody you've provided great service, got a good relationship with them, right? You know they're going to say something good. And even outside of LinkedIn, just sales training 101, you know that you're at the minimum going to have to prompt them, and in some cases you might even have to sort of ghost write it from them. But if you ask them, hey, could you give me a recommendation on LinkedIn for that big print job we did for you last year? They'll like say, oh, yeah, sure. You might want to say, well, I know, thank you very much. I know how busy you are. You may not remember all the details. How about I write like 2 or 3 sentences of something you might want to say? I'll email it to you. If that works, just cut it and paste it in. And remember, the easier you make it for them, the more likely, number one, you're going to get it, but it's going to look like the way you want it to look. So those are some recommendations. Okay, we're going to end up talking about endorsements. Endorsements are those skills that you can see people click on. It doesn't take as much effort, so I don't put quite as much value in it, to be honest, as the recommendation, but I'm sure you've all seen these, and this is an example of somebody that might be in the print and direct mail or the print and promotional products area, some of the recommendations that they might have. And again, a way to showcase your skills. I will tell you that if there's ones on your profile that you don't like, you can't actually edit them and delete them altogether. If there's ones that you want to be higher, like brand development, then you actually just have to request people to raise it higher. So, Kirsten, let's end up with our last poll just to see what people are going to be planning to do in poll, and we just want to ask, what upgrades do you plan to make to your profile this week? And if I asked you correctly, hopefully that should be a multi-selection poll. Sometimes I forget to make it a multi-selection poll, but in this case it is multi-selection, so people can go ahead and submit. And again, let's give people 15, 20 seconds till you see kind of the voting slow down, and then we'll just share the results with everybody. I show we've got about 1 minute.
All right, I'm closing it and sharing.
Okay, so half the people are going to update a photo. Almost 80% are going to do their headline. If they haven't already, going to work in on their summary. That's actually the leading one. That's great because that's actually where you get to tell the most of your story. And half the people are going to add media in it. So I am looking forward to some spiffy profiles next week. Then recommendations, still almost half the people are going to ask for some recommendation. I'll tell you what, you guys follow through on that, you are going to be in the upper 95% of LinkedIn profiles. So I told you we were going to have a prize at the end of the 30-day session, and what we want to do there is reward success stories. Now, success stories can come in many shapes or forms. Here might be some examples, right? One of the suppliers might come on and say, hey, I brought on 2 new distribution partners as a result of things I'd learned in the seminar. Or it might be a matter of finding a big print contract that came through an introduction, or somebody might have a promotional campaign after they posted something on LinkedIn and a buyer saw it and noticed it. We want to solicit those, so at the end of this session, end of the 30 days, we're going to ask you guys to submit your success stories, and partly it's a way to collect those and share them back out so that we can just share some ideas and best practices, and we'll write up some of the best ones in an article for Print Solutions magazine, and the one that the staff deems the best one is going to win fame, glory, plus a $100 gift card. So that'll kind of be some fun. So that is the end of it, and we will look forward to seeing those great profile upgrades. Next week, we're going to be talking about connections in groups, so that's where we're going to build out your network. And with that, Kirsten, I'm going to turn it back to you. I see that we're, I think, just over the hour. What I usually tell people is if you need to run to an appointment, go ahead, because this is all the time we had blocked out. But if we want to stick around for 2 or 3 minutes, I will look at some of the outstanding questions and answer them. Fair enough?
Sounds good.
So Kurt, I wanted to thank, hey, this is Brian real quick. I just wanted to thank you. That was great and very informative. Thank you again to the Print Education Research Foundation and all of today's participants who joined the webinar. As a reminder, this is just part one of a four-part series. So, Kurt, go ahead.
Yeah, Brian, you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that thing about PERF training for individual corporations. When I do this in the corporate world, I charge my clients $500 per person to attend this 30-day training. So if you're kind of judging the value that you're getting out of PSDA, just this 30-day workshop alone is a $500 value per person. So again, thanks to PSDA and PERF for that. So again, what I said is I'm going to do, and again, we're officially over. I'm just going to jump in and look at a couple more questions, just spend a couple minutes if there's anything that I think is of general interest to people. A question about the recommendation says, you know, what if your client asks you what to say? That is the best thing in the world because you get to write your own recommendation. But from a realistic standpoint, you know, so you're going to kind of put words in their mouth. Actually, what you're going to do is you're going to write your own recommendation. They have to post it through their LinkedIn, though, so you got to email it to them to cut and paste. But I recommend out of them because you kind of want them to at least say the key points of it, and then you offer to wordsmith it into a 2 or 3 sentence thing. So again, I would say, hey, would you mind giving me a recommendation? You know, I'm going through this LinkedIn program now, and the guy told we've got to get a couple recommendations. You're one of my best customers. Would you mind giving me a recommendation on LinkedIn? They say, of course. I say, okay, what should I say? Well, you remember that big print job we did for you last year that was kind of complicated because we had to do this thing, and then, you know, it was a tight budget, and the deadline was, he's like, oh, yeah, I was really glad. He's like, okay, what was the best part of that? Well, what I really liked about it was when you did this and this and da-da-da. Okay, great. I'm going to write that up. 2 sentences, send it over to you. You want to make any edits, fine. Just post it to my LinkedIn profile. That'll get you a great recommendation. Okay. Question is, I have a personal and a business Twitter account. Which one should I link to? Well, LinkedIn is really your business persona. I would link your Twitter business, right? So they want to know about, you know, advances in print and promotion, not necessarily that you're cheering on the Kansas City Chiefs or that you just had an awesome taco. Question, experience, which is really that resume work experience, seems to overlap a lot with summary. How do you separate them? The summary is a little bit more of a narrative. You've got a lot more space there. And the summary should also be, again, remember, you really want to be writing that summary sort of for the customer's eyes, less about you and for the customer's eyes. The experience is a little bit more factual, cut and dry. I worked at XYZ company from these years. My title was this. This is what my roles and responsibilities were, and this is what I accomplished. So hopefully that helps. And then the last one that I'll address here before I let everybody cut loose is it smart to accept all invitations to link with someone, or are there best practices when considering invitations? That is a great question. We will actually address that more in detail in webinar number 2, which is all about growing your network. The quick answer is yes, there are some best practices. I do recommend some selectivity and not accepting everybody, and we'll go into that in more detail. Perfect segue into webinar number 2. I'll see you guys there next week.
All right, just another
Class
thank you to
dismissed.
Kurt. Thank you, Kurt. And again, just for the attendees, thank you for your attendance, but also be sure to complete the follow-up survey on today's webcast because your feedback helps us to improve the value we provide to you guys. So thank you again, and we look forward to meeting with you again this time next week.